The unconventionalist Adrian Babashoff here again today. Thoughts, usually just pics of 1,000 thoughts that happened every day. I should definitely do something with the audio, I think, on here, but I think it's fine. Get the message across as long as you can hear me and I'm audible. Every time I go to do these videos, it seems like a train or airplane or a ghetto bird helicopter's flying overhead. But I have thoughts throughout the day. Going off what I spoke about yesterday is keeping the subconscious mind and the cavities, the areas of the mind open instead of filling them up full of junk. I get thoughts every single day on all kinds of different things, and one of the thoughts today was just the human experience in and of itself. Now, I've talked about this before, where a lot of things seem insignificant, and the more and more I go on a journey of living unconventionalist, it just seems to me, I don't know how all this reality has compounded to form to what it is now today. But when I look at such emotions and desires and things that we all have, the more and more it just seems like a rerun of a commercial. Very haunting song. A band called Radiohead, if you've ever heard them. And because I don't pay attention to much news, social media, TV, entertainment basically out there, it's years to where I discover things such as this wonderful piece of art called The Iron Lung by Muse, or I'm sorry, not by Muse, by Radiohead. And the song's probably 20, 30 years old. I have no freaking idea. I came across it and it just doesn't happen very often to me, but it just froze me right into where I was sitting, just from the voice and everything, the melody of it. But it comes from a story of the Iron Lung, where people were actually in the 19th century, where they made a compression chamber to keep people alive from an illness. And I can't remember, it might have been from syphilis, I can't remember, but something to keep people breathing, to force them to breathe, therefore the Iron Lung. And the lyrics from this band, Radiohead, just hit me. And it goes into, I think it opens up with faith. You're driving me away. You do it every single day. I know you don't mean to, but it hurts like hell. My brain says I'm receiving pain. It's lack of oxygen. I'm grateful for my iron lung. I can't sing the song or play the song for copyright issues. But it's just something that floored me. You guys go give it a listen and let me know what you guys think. Another part to the song was, suck your teenage thumb, you're toilet trained and dumb. And I think it goes to the fact of, when the power goes out, we'll just hum. We scratch our eternal itch, a 20th century bitch. We are losing it, can't you tell? And this is our new song, just like the last one. A total waste of time, my iron lung. Just amazing. And I think the singer, I don't know his name from this song, pretty much has the same thoughts And the message to me is that we're losing it. It is a rewind. We're pretty much programmed. It doesn't have to be that way, and it doesn't have to be dismal. But this is what we've become. We've become teenagers sucking our teenage thumbs, toilet trained and dumb. And I think that the positivity of this is that it's a pimple that needs to be left alone. It's not your pimple. It's not our pimple. Our people are kind. There's definitely a separation that's happening. Our way of thinking, I think even possibly even biologically, we're just different. We're wired different. But we have to leave the people to the iron lung alone. This world's going to play out with or without us. You know, it's interesting how they say, you know, I know a lot of my own family history back to my great-grandfather, but it seems like after fourth generation, nobody even remembers who you are. They may know your name, but they don't know what you look like. They don't know what you were about. I think, granted, moving in the future, if people do what I'm doing now, which is one of the reasons I'm doing what I'm doing here, is to leave a trail and some plantings, to plant a tree of thought, of elderly wisdom, hopefully, to show my children's children's children that this is what the movement was all about. The movement was about freedom. It was about seeking truth and comfort in the right things before everything gets even more lost than it already is. But that's a decision that each individual, including my children's children's children, will have to make. But nonetheless, my friends, I think it's hard for me to come out and even talk due to the fact that so much energy and time is spent on what's wrong with the world and how everything's fucked up, and everybody's that I pretty much speak to is more preoccupied with what's happening outside their home and around their home, instead of focusing on their home, instead of focusing on self-improvement and your home, where you live, what you can do, things that you could bring joy, silent, unnoticed, unannounced, things that don't need reassurance or acknowledgement, such as walking in the mountains and picking up some trash bags, stuffing them in your pocket. Nobody needs to see you do that. You know what you did. I feel like the organism, which I truly believe is an organism called Earth knows what you did. And that's what matters. It doesn't matter what other people, outside of the home of yourself, the home of your mind, the home of your soul, you know what you did or didn't do. And the more you accumulate those wonderful things in your life, instead of projecting outward, the better your life becomes. I think this is a great point. Many of my thoughts are like trails that I keep revisiting every once in a while. I'll get on them and I'll start climbing the summits, and I find more and more and more. I don't know what's wrong with me, but I don't forget almost any of these type of thoughts. I just keep building and building and building upon them. But one of those thoughts that I have been building, and I could see the architecture of it coming to existence, is that the more and more we sit in the pig pen, I hate being biblical, but you know, there's a lot of good sayings that are in the Bible. Thou shalt not don't cast your pearls before swine. And I look and I think to move above and to take that further is, why bed down? Why even be around the swine? Poor swines. I don't even want to put swines in the place of human beings. Human beings are even far more disgusting. At least a pig knows it's a pig. But I think there's a piece. This should not be a war even though it feels like a self war, and that an interesting concept of cultism. People would say, well, you're going to join a community and go live with people in the woods and do your thing when I was doing those sort of things. And they're like, what is this, some kind of cult? If you stop these people though and says, well, you pretty much live in a cult, because if I don't make on purposefully enough money to pay taxes because I don't want to pay taxes legally, I'm not contributing towards street signs and lights and things like that. It doesn't support the system, the cult that you live in. If I don't abide by your rules of, the way personal conduct, and then laws of, you can't grow a garden in your front yard. Your front yard needs to be clipped. Right? It needs to look a certain way. Well, we don't want to abide by that way. It's unsightly. Don't you think that's kind of a cult? Huh, Bill? Bob? Jane? You can't mind your own business and stay in your own nice little white picket fence with your red door? How original, by the way. A red door. Never seen that before. But you are going to come and attack somebody who wants to grow food in their front yard, and you think it's unsightly and ugly. Guys, it's to the point where here in the United States too, you may say, oh, well, that's other parts of the world. No, here in the United States, where people are getting written up, being ticketed, fined for growing food. Some of these people, I think, even in their backyards. That's the point we're coming to. There's no cultism coming on here. But yeah, it's hard to not get angry, and I'm not saying we need to be violent, but feeling the violence, the anger inside yourself is not healthy, I think. And there's got to be a way out. And the way out is for unconventionalists to be in a place where you can have zucchini and tomato growing in your front yard without anybody bitching and complaining. I don't know about what your plan is. I would love to hear about it. I'd love to get 50 subscribers so I can go live. That's going to be a real hoot. But my plan is to leave the red door people behind, go find my people, where by the time you get to my front door, you've been visited by all kinds of different butterflies, insects, and wildlife. In fact, if you were hungry, by the time you even came to knock on my front door, you'd be full. You'd be physically not hungry, but you would also be full of beautiful things that you got to see before you even got to my house. Let alone the wonderful conversations we'd probably have. My house probably wouldn't even have a door. To dream. The unconventionalists